They always told me that everything happens for a reason, and when things are going well, it's easy to believe, but what about when things fall apart? My time living in Ecuador was exemplary of this. My absolute sole reason for going was to spend time with my love, because that was the only option that I had. Even though I had previous plans to move to Thailand with my two best friends, I chose her, ultimately. And as much as it was a hard choice, it was also an easy choice, because being with her was the only thing that made sense to me. So although I didn't really want to go, being without her just wasn't an option. So I went, and were my anxieties well-founded? Well, absolutely. But was that all there was to it? Not really, no. My goal of this video is to share some of my struggles and general experience of what I went through during my time there, and how I also grew in various areas of my life, finding a deeper appreciation for things that I didn't have, that I wouldn't have been aware of otherwise. This is my Ecuador journal, the moments that made me and broke me. The first few months were very hard. We had to find an apartment very close to arriving to the country. Luckily, we found the place really quickly, but living together wasn't something that we had really planned on doing so early, and something that none of us had adapted to before. The cost of living was generally a lot higher than I had anticipated. I also spent all the cash that I had brought with me on the rent and getting the place that we had. So in essence, we were broke. While I was there, I just had this deep feeling of dread, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't in the right place, and this feeling was exacerbated by the job that I had. The first month was horrific. The school had poor organization, never gave me the resources that I needed, and at that time there were constant power cuts. Fuck.
A normal life.
Welcome to Ecuador. This is what we call Corte de la Luz, otherwise known as a power cut. And the school didn't really make any effort to try to meet in the middle with those problems. I was continually asked to do things that I didn't need to do and I didn't sign up to do, and was told to stay longer than the usual hours, right, than I was contracted to do. The only positive being that Eva also worked there too, so we could at least see each other every day at work. Overall, I just didn't really like the militancy of the school and the way that they treated both the teachers and the students like prisoners. Whenever I would call something out as unjust or wrong, I would be regurgitated and recycled the same mantra from everybody, being
"Welcome to Ecuador, my bro."
And this began to infuriate me, because why was it that I was seeing things that nobody else could see, right? Was it that I was some pompous, spoiled kid from the West? Well, the West, it's more Western, UK, but from, you know, a more developed society? Or was it that they just were all used to this thing and they couldn't see the problem with it? It was also around this time that the chest pain I had was getting worse due to an injury I had sustained a few months prior. Anyway, this marked the part of the journey where I felt like the victim. Whenever something mildly inconvenient would happen, I would sometimes just burst into this fit of rage, saying that I hated being there and I never wanted to be there, and it just wasn't my choice. It was a painful cycle, because really and truly I was right. I didn't need to be there. I chose it to be with her. But I began to question if it was worth it. Yeah, I had a great relationship, a great girlfriend, but everything else seemed to be going down the drain. You know, I really didn't like my job. I didn't have much of a social circle, or I began to get more and more frustrated by the inconveniences of the country compared to a lot of the other countries that I had been to. So generally, it was kind of wearing me down. The way I saw the future, it was quite bleak and hopeless. Whenever I had contemplated the future, it was always a better situation, but without Eva, or staying there, but being with her. So in a way, I couldn't really win. Obviously, I was no stranger to hard work and being out of my comfort zone. I'd lived in Korea before. I went all by myself and had just been through things in my life that pushed me to be stronger and be better. But nothing like this. I mean, I used this knowledge to fuel me through the 4:30 a.m. wake-ups, because we had to get up at that time, as we wouldn't be able to go to the gym at all if we didn't wake up at that time, because we had to get up so early for work. And after work, we were just so exhausted. There were numerous days where I just didn't want to get out of bed, and I just didn't see the point of waking up early and training. I didn't have that fire in me, and I just felt like I didn't want to participate in the days. I journaled about this constantly, but I was still deeply frustrated and unhappy with the situation. I couldn't see what was actually growing, you know. I didn't have this perceivable sense that actually something was changing, and I started to believe that people that believe that were just doing it to cope with a difficult circumstance. Even the gym, which was a reliable source of joy for me, was slowly being taken away, and this was because of my chest problems starting to increase. Over the course of the last few months of 2024 up until February of 2025, we spent a lot of time, money, and just looked everywhere for different types of specialists to sort out my problem. I got so many different diagnoses. For example, I got told that I had scoliosis, intersection syndrome, costochondritis, bone marrow edema, and I held all these diagnoses and scans, but nobody could really give me a clear picture of what the problem was. I'd even paid for a really expensive MRI just for the doctor to say, no, sorry, it's not clear enough, even though I'd been recommended to do one. And when I was trying to show him on my tablet, he was just saying, no, I don't want to wait for it to load, it's fine, like it's not useful. Anyway, all of this basically means that I couldn't save and I couldn't really build towards anything either. So that also started to affect me, the fact that I couldn't save any money. Of course, the muscle that I had spent years building was slowly decreasing, and that was having a toll on my mental health. The loose plan essentially was to wait for my Maltese passport to get processed, arrive, we send it to Ecuador, and then we get married and then we leave. This was because some countries allow for a dependent visa if one of the partners is working. It wasn't a question of if I wanted to marry her, more a case of the logistics, because with her, it wasn't that I just did it because to get a better opportunity. I genuinely know that she's the right person for me. So thinking about it, we landed on China as the best option because seemingly it had the most opportunities for her as a Spanish teacher, and for me, it had well-paid jobs as an English teacher. So it sounded like an easy choice. We almost agreed to stay in Ecuador for an additional 2 years because I was offered a job role to increase my personal development and just seem better than the previous job that I had. I, with a heavy heart, accepted it. Wasn't too sure, but I didn't have any other idea in my head. So the plan was that we would stay there for a few more years, then go to China once our portfolios had improved. However, the boss didn't get back to me for weeks and didn't give me any indication that this job was even going to happen anytime soon. The company was very reputable, but I wasn't sure that they had actually had this job ready. So we started to switch gears a little bit and lock in more on this whole let's go abroad idea as soon as possible. And then something insane happened. My best friend, who's in Thailand, wrote me a long letter kind of highlighting that China was not the best idea for several reasons, and maybe opening my mind to other ideas. After reading it, it became very clear to me that only one option seemed to make the most sense: Thailand. His letter wasn't just about China, it was about me and how I'd been chasing better options without asking what I really wanted. It forced me to confront the truth that I had buried. In response to needing more money to support us and generally something to save, I pushed harder in my tutoring to make extra money. I was barely making around $100 in the first few months that we arrived to Ecuador. It was just a sort of emergency funding in case we needed some. However, what also motivated me was that money goes a lot further over there, so one class could pay for dinner for me and Eva. But in the UK, I'd have to do at least 3 to do anything close to that. Over time, I gradually started getting more students, increasing my experience, refining my style, and just getting a bit better at doing it. I also thought to integrate my coaching with my tutoring, and eventually came up with a business called Speak and Grow, where I would have started, well, I haven't really gone for it yet, but making a company on this sort of concept. I was getting underpaid, but at least I was coaching again. I finally got the offer to work part-time at International House, and which I swiftly accepted. But as you could probably tell, my free time was getting eaten up very fast, as now I had my day job at the school, my other job tutoring in the evenings, and now I had this part-time gig with this school. This meant that a lot of days I was working from 7 a.m. all the way up until 9 p.m. because I'd work from 7 till 4 at the day job, then around maybe 5 to 7 doing 5 to 6 doing tutoring, 6 to 8 with the other school, and another hour on top with my tutoring. It was a lot and it was really wearing me down, but I wasn't depressed. And as a byproduct, I started to enjoy the quieter moments more with Eva, you know, just going for a walk, watching a nice movie, going out for a meal and things like that. Even time spent with her in her family home, it was nice. Nice little bit of time to relax.
Why are you wearing that?
Because I saw it there and I thought you put a t-shirt for me or a top. No. And I thought you put that for me, so I put it on and I didn't know how to put it on.
No, my mom put it there.
Oh.
Like, I don't know why.
I'm not sure when exactly this clicked, but I kind of just stopped thinking about what was around me. I think maybe because I was so busy, and just began to just enjoy what was around me. I know, it's a crazy concept. I actually started looking forward to going to work, not because of the company, because I still didn't like it much, but my students. I just like speaking with them and just spending time with them and just being around them. Since I was so busy, they became the closest thing that I had to friends, and I really began to cherish them. Almost every weekend we'd visit Eva's family home and see her mum, who has a pug. I never really cared much for dogs. I always thought they were cute, but I never wanted one personally. And initially her dog actually annoyed me quite a bit. However, with the time, I found like I wanted her to be with me. You know, whenever I'd go to the shop, I'd call her. Whenever we'd go on a trip, even to the city, I'd put her on my lap on the bus. Whenever I watch a movie, she'd be on my lap. And even when I play a game, or even sometimes she'd sleep with me when Eva wasn't with me. I don't know how to say it, but I guess I started to love this dog, which definitely wasn't expected. In fact, I started just to love everything just a little bit more. Eva's mum taught me a lot of things being with her, and obviously my Spanish improved quite a lot. I had lots of new favorite foods and things that were really cheap that I could easily just get. And my relationship was stronger than ever. And the job even started to feel a bit easier too. I was busy, but at least I had a very clear vision, which I was focused on for the future. In fact, I was starting to feel more connected in general. There was this sense of belonging that I began to quietly feel. No longer was I a victim of circumstance, but an active participant in my own life. Even though I was working 3 jobs, looking for a job in Thailand, trying to get our marriage ceremony sorted, making sure that all the times lined up, I was actively working towards a vision, and it felt really good. Once the time had come for me to leave the job, I told my students, and the reaction I got was very surprising.
Hi teacher, I want to tell you that I will miss you so much, and I hope you have all your dreams complete. And also, we're going to miss you so much, and we love you a lot, and we have a lot of fun in this year of schoolers. Thank you so much. Bye. Ya se puedo.
Hi.
No, it's not. Okay.
And the last one. Don't forget us, because we don't forget you.
And that's all.
Oh, bye.
Remember all us, everyone, and we love you. Bye.
Some of them wrote me letters, and others even got me a mug with my face on it, my face on it, but with all of us together, saying that we'll never forget you. And it made me really emotional. Never expected it, not from teenagers. So yeah, one thing I learned over the last year is it's not about how long you've had a connection, but how strong the connection is. Spending the last few weeks with Eva's sister-in-law, Eva's mom, sometime with her brother, I felt like I had developed and found a new family of my own. I was working online fully, so was Eva, and we pretty much just had a chill filler arc between when we left our jobs and coming here to Thailand. Looking back, I realized it wasn't the place that made it bearable. It was the people, the pug, the students, Eva, her family. Love shows up at unexpected places, and sometimes anywhere can be home.